An entitled Karen demands that I leave the public library all because I look like Santa and I'm somehow distracting her kid. Here's what happened. So to start things out, I am homeless. No, I don't drink and I don't do any substances. I am trying to get a job, but finding employment when homeless is not an easy task. And this is just a few facts about me that I need to get out of the way. Every few days, I take a trip to the library to charge my phone and batteries so I can keep my phone on and working. I typically spend 3 to 4 hours in a quiet corner of the library, glued to the power outlet that's charging my phone. Well, today I had a cute and then frustrating interaction between a little kid and their entitled parent. I walked through the sliding doors of the library and wandered around looking for an open chair near an outlet to sit and charge my phone. That's when I heard this little voice shout out in excitement and glee, "It's Santa!" I then heard the pitter-patters of little boots running over to me. Now, I get it. I really do. A big bearded man dressed up in red with big black bags and an oversized backpack strapped over his shoulders. Any little kid would easily mistake me for the big jolly man. The kid stopped right in front of me. She was clenching her fists tight, trembling in excitement. She could not have been more than 4 years old at least. She looked up at me, her eyes opened wide, and uttered the word, "Hi, Santa." And when she said that, honestly, it made me smile and I laughed. Well, her mother came running over, scooped her child up and said sorry to me, walked away and told her kid that's not Santa. Now, the entire interaction put a smile on my face, but here's where it went downhill. I eventually found an open seat and plugged in to charge and do my thing. The little kid and her parent were on the other side of the library, but the kid was still brimming with excitement. I could see her head poke out of the bookshelf, staring at me every so often. And that went on for maybe about half an hour. That is, until I guess the mother couldn't handle her child anymore, and she eventually came over to me. This entitled parent actually asked me to leave and find a different spot because I was distracting her daughter. I said to her, "Hey, I'm sorry, but this is the only open space with an outlet. I need to charge my stuff." She very sarcastically said, "Oh, well, why's that?" I replied by saying, "Because I don't have one, I'm homeless." I thought that was the end of it because her face went red and she walked away. But no, she actually came back. She went up to the front desk to ask them if there were any outlets outside and if it was okay for me to use them. Like seriously, she actually did that. She said that the library is okay with me using the outlet outside to charge, so I can go out there. So I asked her, "Okay, so you don't want me in the library, a public institution, to charge my phone? You would rather me sit outside in the cold just because your kid thinks I'm Santa? Really? Is that it?" I just looked at her and I said, "Well, ho ho ho, Merry Christmas to you. I'm going to stay right here until my batteries are charged." This entitled Karen then went right up to the front desk and I decided to listen in because I figured I'm screwed, I'm getting kicked out. This entitled Karen actually asked them to tell me to leave, but they said they can't do that unless I'm intentionally making a disturbance, being violent, or being threatening. But here's the thing, I've been here before. I keep to myself and I don't bother anybody. And you know what? I ended up being at that library for 4 hours. I didn't move and I definitely did not get kicked out. And most of all, my things are charged and good for the next few days. And while this is definitely not the worst interaction that I've experienced, I can still overall say that this lady was completely out of line. I'm honestly astonished that this entitled Karen really did that to you. Like seriously, what is wrong with her? Here's the thing, it's not even about this guy looking like Santa or even being homeless. It's the fact that this entitled Karen can't handle her kid and would rather have everybody else around her bend to her will just so she can have some kind of control over her child. Like seriously, who in their right mind would treat someone like this? For starters, the original poster didn't even do anything. They're in a public library just charging their phone. They didn't do anything to this Karen and especially anything to their kid. He was literally just minding his own business and doing his own thing. But thankfully you were able to stay in the library and still do your thing. I'm glad the library staff didn't like cave to this weird entitled Karen's demands and force you to leave all because she was upset. And hopefully your homeless situation can get worked out, and I'm so sorry you're dealing with that, but also I hope you never have to deal with that lady ever again, because the way she treated you was really unfair, and you should not have been talked to in that way in the slightest. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. My partner's parents are making the holidays difficult for myself and my partner, and after dealing with this for over 9 years, I am now not even invited to any of their family festivities, and I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So my partner and I have been together for 9 years or so, much to his parents' disapproval. Over the years, they've gone as far as to try and convince my partner that I'd be a bad mother, that I'm going to eventually ruin his life, and often try to push him to separate from me. This behavior has continued to escalate as we've matured and moved to a different state. Outside of the conflict with his parents, our relationship is pretty solid. I like to think that we have good communication and he is my best friend. His parents' behavior has started to push him away so much that they had to begin family therapy. However, his parents are still convinced that I'm the problem and this therapist will somehow take their side. So the therapy situation is going to take some time. Over the last few years, I've compromised during the holidays and I usually stay in an Airbnb nearby or just don't attend his family's festivities, as oftentimes I'm not even invited. I'm currently no contact with his parents and I just don't feel like it's fair for me to shell out money for an Airbnb this year. My partner is a PhD student, so he doesn't have much to contribute money-wise to the situation. So here's where I feel stuck. Christmas is my birthday, and I don't feel like it's fair for me to spend this year alone. But my partner also has a sister and grandparents that he would like to see during this time. Despite our differences, I did used to respect his parents and his relationship with them, but I don't feel that way anymore. So I'm wondering if anyone has any suggestions on how we could make this holiday work, because we both are pretty much at a loss. Now here's the thing, he has tried to stand up for me and set boundaries and improve things for years, but his parents are very controlling. He did skip Thanksgiving with them this year because of what's going on, which was the catalyst for therapy. I have also heavily discussed this in my own therapy, but his parents will not let me speak with them directly and have flat out said that they do not respect me or my boundaries. While my partner is very successful academically, I'd like to think that I am as well, as I am a lawyer and I have a good job. Also, marriage is just not a priority for us right now because of our careers, and there is no fear of commitment or anything else like that. So honestly, I'm at such a loss and I seriously don't know what to do. Yeah, honestly, those parents are absolutely awful. Like, the way they're treating you is just so irrational. They're cutting you out and they're acting like you're the problem, and after 9 years of you two being together, they seriously still have that opinion? Like what, is this because you two aren't married? Like seriously, how is this that big of a deal breaker? They're both focused on their careers and they clearly are committed to each other. Otherwise, there's no way they would have stuck it out for 9 years. And I just can't imagine for the better part of a decade being treated like that by my partner's parents. Like seriously, that has got to be miserable and that would not be a good time at all. I know if I was in your shoes, I would just want to feel loved and included in holidays and other get-togethers. I would want to be invited and have some kind of relationship with them, but it's very clear they've basically like made up their mind about you and they're not letting you anywhere near them to try and have any kind of conversation. And that seriously is such a shame, because this really does sound like a massive case of communication issues, as well as the parents being incredibly controlling. Like, it really seems like they have a chokehold on your partner and they're trying to dictate what this man can and cannot do. But here's the thing, in my opinion, I think it's time for your partner to step up and let his actions speak louder than words. Sure, him and his family are going to family therapy, but I think a bigger statement of his displeasure is for him to start skipping out on some of these family festivities. I know that if I was in his shoes, I would make a stand and let my actions speak for themselves. I would go absent from any of their get-togethers, and I would make it very clear that no, I don't approve of the way you're talking to my partner. Because in my opinion, the way these people are treating you is so unfair, and hopefully things can get better sooner than later. My girlfriend wants me to narrate my thoughts and detail out everything that I'm thinking when it comes to any kind of plans that we want to have together. And honestly, this is such an exhausting request that I now find myself at a complete loss and I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. My girlfriend and I have been dating for about 6 months. Recently, I've noticed that she's been pulling back a bit after having gone on a long weekend trip to Mount Shasta. While she acknowledges that I'm a great listener and help her feel safe to be intimate, share her thoughts, talk about anything, she admits to being more withdrawn the recent 3 to 4 weeks. She says that this is due to it being a more stressful time of the year, while also having to deal with her divorce lawyer, plan to travel for the holidays, as well as work demands and many other things. Tonight, however, after a 3-hour phone call, she finally was more direct and said that she needed me to vocalize my thoughts more. To put it another way, she needs me to show my math homework on how I arrived on a date idea, or if we're in a new area for the first time, such as Mount Shasta. She wants me to tell her what I'm thinking through when coming up with ideas on what to do, what to see, and how we'll go about doing whatever. Now, for some background information, information, she has been married twice before and tells me that in her second marriage, her ex-husband would rely more on her to make decisions. He would effectively dump the decision-making process on her, having only gone 10% of the way in thinking up an idea for dates and how to spend time together. Overall, this left her feeling unseen and unheard in that she needed to drive the relationship rather than be confident it was being properly led. I get how this could be exhausting for her, but at the same time, I've been planning the majority of the dates and hangout ideas over the past few months. We're talking road trips, sporting events, dinners, hikes, movies, beach visits, rock climbing and skiing and snowboarding vacations. All of these are not an extreme level of detail, but enough to know all of the details and still leave room for her input, which I highly value. Finally, when pitching them to her, I'm calm and chill about it, something that I think she would find at the very least pleasant. She instead interprets my well-meaning intent as being more of a deflection tactic and one which serves to ruin the mood. I mean, has anyone ever heard of the need to narrate your thoughts or vocalize the mental steps taken when planning any kind of time together? Does this somehow serve as a means of knowing where a partner is mentally at? Some plans, I get they need to be more concrete, like an expensive overseas vacation, but needing to be this verbose and garrulous for routine weekend hangouts? Something just feels off about that. At the risk of sounding arrogant, I'm confident in who I am and my ability to be vulnerable and share myself in a relationship, but I know I'm not perfect. I just don't see where in the mix of all of this, I now seem to be not inspiring enough confidence in her anymore, especially compared to months earlier when none of my demeanor, openness, or speaking style, or literally anything else has changed in the slightest. What should I do? Honestly, the way your girlfriend is acting is really annoying. Like, this sounds like somebody who is clearly dealing with some stuff that they haven't discussed yet, or they simply haven't got their life figured out, and they don't really know the root of their dissatisfaction in life. Like, they're basically trying to pick apart everything you're thinking and doing as if that's gonna solve her problems with her ex-husbands. This is also probably a case of her like projecting on you. Like, she clearly has anxiety that you might turn into the same ex-husband that she's had in the past, the one that doesn't care about her input or anything like that, but the way she's trying to express that and like work through it in some kind of way, in my opinion, is completely inappropriate. It's almost like she's leading you in a direction where she's gonna try and like catch you in your words and thoughts, as if she's making you pay for the mistakes of her exes. So in my opinion, I think it's time to let her know that what she's doing is really weird, and I think some kind of like intervention of some kind needs to happen between the two of you. Because in my opinion, the way she's acting is completely out of line, and I think it's safe to say that she needs to get her priorities straight and figure out her life. I resent my boyfriend for coming from a wealthy family, and at this point, I feel like we are seriously incompatible and I don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So my boyfriend of about 1.5 years has never financially struggled in his life. He is an only child, and his mom still does his laundry on the weekends. His parents are extremely well off, which has led to him getting anything that he has ever wanted, with no restrictions. He has never had to look at the price tag when buying things. If he wants something, he simply gets it. All this has led to him being useless in terms of taking responsibility and initiative. Now, I know we are very young by only being 20 years old, the both of us, and some of these things have to be learned, but I cannot help but feel pure resentment for the fact that everything I had to learn at the age of 12, he still doesn't know how to do. And I hate him for this, because I've grown up in a low-income family my entire life. We are very frugal, so while he spends hundreds on clothing just to let them sit in his closet, I don't even come to school most days, so I can save on bus money. I'm the kind of person to not buy a food item that I need just because it hasn't gone on sale. One time, his headphones broke, and his family immediately bought him a brand new $600 pair. I will never have the heart to spend that kind of money on a pair of headphones. Mine are broken right now, and I use tape to try and fix them. I'm on student loans, so sometimes I will share my stress to him by saying something like, I don't know how I will pay off my loans and be able to afford a house in this economy. I'm going to be in so much debt. And he just offers by saying, oh, my parents can help you pay it off. Let me help you pay it off. Or he'll say, you don't have to worry about housing. My parents want to buy another property and we can live in it. They've told me before they're willing to help me buy a house. And honestly, I'm so sick of hearing him talk about life like this. All he has to offer is his parents. His parents can do this and that for him. His parents will always have his back. He knows that money won't ever be an issue, and I'm so sick of this mindset. He doesn't even begin to understand what financial struggle is, and I resent him so much for it. I see our financial financial differences and I hate him. I hate that he has never had to work for money. I hate that he gets everything handed to him like candy, all while I had to work a part-time job as a full-time student so that I could just support myself. Now, I know what you might be thinking. You might be thinking, why in the world is this girl complaining about a man wanting to help her financially? It's because of the fact that he throws around money without knowing how hard it is to actually make it. If he had a degree, a good job, a good financial standing, because he built that for himself, I would be so proud of him, and I would not be complaining at all. But it's the fact that it's his parents, and the fact that he believes his parents' money is his. I think this issue is big enough for me to leave him. It bothers me that someone is so spoiled and is so ignorant and has just had an easy life handed to him. Also, in addition, he is not just financially irresponsible, he has many health issues that he refuses to go to the doctor for. He just brushes them off like it's nothing. He doesn't have a drive to learn a new skill unless I prompt him to do it. He says he wants to go to the gym to lose weight and then he doesn't go. Like, come on, learn to take care of yourself at least. I know I sound like a jealous brat. My boyfriend is willing to help me pay off my thousands of dollars in debt, and I just complain. He gets nice things and I complain. He is a child who doesn't even know which cookies he wants from the store. He is a child who never asks to see me unless I prompt us to. He is a child who has mommy and daddy's money to shelter him forever. I see myself carrying the emotional burdens of housekeeping, as well as everything else if I choose to stay with him. And this is all because he is unable to see the responsibilities on his own. It simply feels like I'm with a child, a very kind one, but I can't stand it. Am I wrong for feeling this way? Am I taking his willingness to help me for granted? And is this financial incompatibility something that I should or shouldn't take seriously? Am I too responsible, or is he not responsible enough? What should I do? I'm gonna say this as nicely as I possibly can, but honestly, why is the original poster still with their boyfriend? First of all, I want to say this up front. If I had a girlfriend who was like, oh, I'll help you pay off all your debt and give you a house to live in, the last thing I'm gonna do is be ungrateful like the original poster. Like, seriously, why are you still with this guy if you hate him so much? You've clearly expressed your opinion of him, and you've basically chalked him up to some spoiled kid with a lot of money. You've completely disregarded his entire life experience, and you feel like you have him completely figured out, which honestly, I don't think you do. I think you have a very skewed opinion of this man, and your own delusional jealousy is honestly going to be the end of this relationship. Not because he did anything wrong. From the sounds of it, it sounds like you have a 20-year-old boyfriend who literally has no life experience at all. And sure, he hasn't had the struggles that you have had in your life, but that doesn't make him less of a person. It doesn't mean that he doesn't want you in his life. This guy literally said he'll pay off your student debt and you two can live in a house together that his parents are gonna buy. Like, if that's not an obvious sign that your boyfriend loves you and he wants to take care of you, then I don't know what is. But it doesn't sound like you want to be taken care of, because based on the way you're talking in this post, it sounds like you just want to complain instead of being grateful to have the boyfriend that you do. Like, if you really hate this guy, then seriously, I gotta ask again, why are you with him? Like, I don't think there's any kind of like compatibility issues here, because seriously, if I was in your shoes, I would make that work no problem. If my girlfriend loved me and was willing to help me out, I would be on board for being more involved in her life. I wouldn't be like, oh, well, you're just a spoiled rich girl. You don't know what it's like to struggle. When in reality, your struggling is about to end. Like, literally, this could have been you having a good life with a good man who clearly had your best interest in mind. And in my opinion, the only reason that this relationship will fall apart is literally because of your attitude and not because of anything he isn't doing. Am I the jerk for calling my cousin a hypocrite after she married somebody rich? Here's what happened. Okay, so before my cousin married her husband, she was one of those eat the rich anti-capitalist people who blame rich people for the world's problems, especially climate change. I love her, but she was annoying about the whole thing a lot of the time, and it was almost her entire personality at one point. She hated rich people to the point that when she met her husband, she claimed he only wanted to date her because he wasn't used to not getting his way because he grew up rich, and she'd be angry whenever he did anything nice for her. Even when she married him, she claimed it was okay because she could give all of his money away if she did. They moved to Australia a few months ago, and they were supposed to stay there for 3 years minimum, but my cousin found out she was pregnant 2 weeks ago, and according to her husband, she had a complete meltdown. She's never lived away from her parents before, and she said she was already overwhelmed because her life has been changing so fast, so finding out she was pregnant was the final straw. Her husband is really sweet, so he dropped stopped everything and they left Australia the very next day. He has to go back after the holidays to sort things out, and it seems like they're going to have to be long distance for a while since my cousin doesn't want to be so far from family. She told me he was planning to fly back and forth while he sorted some things out. I pointed out how that would be really bad for the environment since she still acts like she's super passionate about climate change. She claims they don't have another choice, which I pointed out is very clearly a lie. I also told her that she had become a hypocrite by marrying her husband since he was everything that she stood against personified. I think her pregnancy hormones got to her because she started crying when normally she wouldn't cry over something like this. Now, I feel bad for making her cry since that wasn't my intention. So am I the jerk in this situation? What should I do? Honestly, you are definitely the jerk here. Look, I totally get it, your cousin's annoying, and she has clearly changed her mind about stuff that she was very adamant about. But for you to go in and be like, ooh, now's my chance to get back at her, and then take this cheap shot at her when she's in the middle of a crisis, that in my opinion is so uncalled for. And the fact that you're trying to blame her pregnancy hormones on her crying is really insulting. This had nothing to do with hormones. You were just being a massive jerk and really mean. So I really do think that you're the jerk because the way you're treating your cousin is so uncalled for. And in my opinion, I absolutely think that you should be apologizing. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist at the top of the description. And if you want some chill music to put on in the background, check out easymode. If you like Am I the Jerk, subscribe to Am I the Genius. Everything will be linked down below in the description.